can Twitter, if you can send email or text message someone, all these technologies are based on a very fundamental premise in science. And what's the fundamental premise in science? The essential nature of the physical world is that it's not physical. The essential nature of the material world is it's not material. The essential stuff of the universe is non-stuff. Everything that we call matter is made up of molecules. The molecules are made up of atoms. The atoms are subatomic particles that are moving at lightning speeds around huge empty spaces. And these subatomic particles are not things. What are these subatomic particles? According to science, they are probability clouds in a huge emptiness. And in fact, if there's one terminology that scientists agree upon, they say that the essential nature of the physical world is that it's a discontinuity. Discontinuity means something that's going on and off. And at the most fundamental levels, it's, you might say, if you want to simplify it, it's electromagnetic field of virtual photons that are going on and off. So if you could see things as they really are, not through the artifact of your sensory apparatus, which is really an artifact, you'd see the huge electromagnetic storm that's going on and off. But our sensory apparatus cannot process information at that speed, so we experience continuity. It's like when you go to the movies, you see continuity on the screen, but actually a movie is a series of still frames that are being flashed on and off. Or when you see a Christmas light going around a Christmas tree, there's no light actually traveling around a tree. There are light bulbs that are going on and off, and you can't process it, so you can't see the off between the ons, and the memory of the on lingers in the off, so you see a moving light. Or when you see a moving picture on your television screen, there's no picture that travels across the screen, only electrons and photons. They go on and off a certain pattern. The picture and the movement of the picture is in your consciousness. So all our experience of the world depends on discontinuity, and yet we experience continuity. Right now, my vocal cords are going on and off. Photons are bouncing off your retina on and off. If you taste, smell something, that sends an on-off signal to your brain. Even touch is based on on-off. If I put my hand on your thigh and I don't move it, after a while you won't know it's there. If I start to move it again, you might say, what the heck are you trying to do? Okay? So our experience of continuity depends on discontinuity. Okay? If I take your picture with my BlackBerry and I send it to somebody in China, then a picture doesn't go from here, right? An on-off signal goes from here. Goes through these walls, goes through your body, etc., etc. Even when the signal reaches their computer, there's no picture on the screen. There's just these on-off signals that then travel to their eyes, to their brain. The picture is in their consciousness. Am I making sense? Okay. So the question today is not what's in the on, but what's in the off. Because between every two ons, there's an off. What's in the discontinuity? And several years ago, I got into a conversation with some really brilliant scientists who spent their lives thinking about this. And so I said, let's talk about this. And so, there is general agreement among scientists about 5 attributes of the discontinuity. And I want you to try and remember these. The first attribute is, in the discontinuity, there's no energy, there's no information, there's no space-time, and there are no objects. So what's there? And the best answers that science can give you is there are infinite possibilities. There are superpositions of waves of possibility. So the discontinuity is the immeasurable potential for energy, information, space-time, and what we call matter. Matter doesn't exist out there. Matter is in our consciousness. Without consciousness, it remains a radically ambiguous and ceaselessly flowing quantum soup. The second attribute of the discontinuity is that it's infinitely correlative. It correlates everything, and this is a technical word for this is entanglement. Everything is entangled with everything, and it's all at once. So In nature, things don't happen one at a time. Everything happens all at once. You know, the human body, for example, which is a biological organism, but all biological organisms are part of nature, and nature itself. Now, planet Earth is thought to be a biological organism. Everything happens all at once, and everything is correlated with everything else. The human body, for example, has 100 trillion cells, which is more than all the stars in the Milky Way galaxy. Each cell performs 100,000 activities every second, and every cell instantly knows and tracks the activity of every other cell and correlates it. How does a human body think thoughts, play a piano, kill germs, remove toxins, and make a baby all at the same time? And while your body can do that, it tracks the movement of stars and planets because your biological rhythms are the symphony of the whole universe. So non-local correlation is actually a technical mathematical term for omniscience, omnipresence, omnipotence. Everything happening all at once, everything correlated with everything all at once. The third attribute of the discontinuity is that it proliferates with uncertainty. You cannot compute the laws of nature at the most fundamental level. Einstein, who first was very uncomfortable with uncertainty, when he said, I don't believe that God would play dice with the universe, later on went to say, insofar as the laws of nature are real, they are uncertain. Insofar as they are uncertain, they are not real. Which means at a certain level, nature precludes you from understanding it, rationally or mathematically. The fourth attribute is something called quantum leaps, where subatomic particles move from one location to a new location without going through the space in between. So if you watch the movie Star Trek or the television program, it's when the captain says, beam me up, Scotty. Scotty presses a button. Captain disappears here, shows up in another dimension of space-time without going through the space in between. And the fifth attribute is observer effect, which, according to John Wheeler, who just died last year at the age of 97, and he, along with some other scientists, about 40, 50 years ago, said the physical universe does not exist unless a conscious being is looking at it. So if you weren't looking at the universe, it would remain a vibration, or some sentient being or unit of sentience was not looking. Okay, enough of the technical stuff. These attributes are the attributes of your own consciousness. And the reason no one can find it, first of all, is it's a subjective experience, but secondly, it doesn't exist in space-time. Where are you experiencing space-time right now? Where are you experiencing space? In your consciousness. But your consciousness is spaceless. Where are you experiencing time right now? In your consciousness. But your consciousness itself is timeless. You know, again, if you read the Bhagavad Gita, water cannot wet it, wind cannot dry it, weapons cannot cleave it, fire cannot burn it, it's ancient, it's unborn, it doesn't die. So your consciousness, which is spaceless, timeless, dimensionless, gives rise to space-time dimensionality. Everything that we call real, including your body. Now, if we totally get this, okay, that our body is experienced and created in consciousness, then where can it be transformed? At what level? In consciousness. If it's created in consciousness, then you can only transform it in consciousness. Okay, so on the basis of this, and on the basis of some really good science, I came up in this book with 5 breakthroughs for the body and 5 breakthroughs for the soul. And then the last part of the book is 10 steps to wholeness. But let's just look at the 5 breakthroughs for the body. The first breakthrough for the body is that your body is not a structure. That's a perceptual lie. Our senses don't tell us the truth. After all, your senses tell you the earth is flat. Nobody believes that anymore. The senses tell you that this ground you are standing on is stationary, and we know it's spinning at dizzying speeds and hurtling through space at thousands of miles an hour. And then senses tell us our bodies are anatomical. They're not. Our bodies are a process in consciousness, and in fact, your body recycles itself once a year. 98% of all the atoms in your body recycle once a year. It's a process in consciousness. And the process, of course, through eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism, elimination, thought, feeling, emotions, memory, imagination, creativity, elimination, all of that. But there's a process going on. And it's not a fixed process. So today, we know there's a term that's been used a lot in science, neuronal plasticity, which means you can train your mind to change the structure of your brain, because your brain is not essentially a structure, it's a process. Okay, and there are lots of studies on Buddhist monks who can change the size of their brain, who can change body temperature, who can influence autonomic function, who can cause the secretion of neuropeptides and all kinds of things, okay, through meditations on contemplative meditations, or what the Buddhists call loving kindness, compassion, joy, profound peace, equanimity, because these practices allow you to go beyond your personal self into your transpersonal self. So your brain is not fixed, nor are your genes fixed, and that is a revolutionary finding that comes from here. Dr. Dean Ornish is one of the scientists who was part of the study that was published in the National Academy of Sciences, that within 3 months of changing your lifestyle, in certain mental practices, stress management, meditation, yoga, breathing, diet, exercise, you can actually change the expression of 500 genes that code for things like heart disease, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, inflammation, obesity, and even certain types of cancer. As I said, the study was published, and now, of course, there's a lot of interest in what is called epigenetics. How do factors independent of the genes regulate the genes? Major breakthrough. Now you have to think, just for a second, that your genes are in every cell of your body. So every cell of your body has a nucleus, and there is DNA inside that, and genes are part of the DNA, and you can influence these genes. Think of genes as nanocomputers. Think of genes as quantum computers that, along with the epigenes, are regulating 100 trillion cells, performing 100,000 activities every second. And you can influence that. So that's the first breakthrough, based on solid science. Okay? The second breakthrough in the body is that your body is an energy field and an information field. Even though we think of it as a molecular field, it's a biological, but it's an energy field, really. If somebody gets their information, let's say you have a lot of money in the stock market, and it's all your retirement money, and then suddenly the stock market collapses, that one bit of information immediately changes biological information in your body, right? So information, whether it comes from the outside or generated inside, somebody says, I think your wife is having an affair. Well, that'll change your information, biological information right away. Your blood pressure will go up, your heart rate will go up, your cortisol will go up. Okay, so information, whether it's generated internally or from the outside, will change your body. So we have to start thinking of the body. In biology, the technologies of information and energy, which we take for granted everywhere else, have not crept into the scientific way of thinking about the body. But if you can start to treat your body, and this is what the yogis did, by the way, they experienced their body, the astral body. What does the word astral body mean? Coming from the stars, because it is made out of photons, ultimately. Photons are the raw material. And you can learn to experience your body as a light body, a body that's nourished by photons. And again, ancient wisdom, but very modern understanding. That's the second breakthrough. The third breakthrough is that you can change your experience of time. What is time? Has anybody actually seen time? Time is a thing in consciousness too. You know people who say all the time, I'm running out of time. I have 10 deadlines. What a terrible word, by the way, deadlines. Okay, so when people have that internal dialogue, I'm running out of time, their biological clock speeds up. They have faster heart rate, jittery platelets with high levels of adrenaline, higher blood pressure, and when they suddenly drop dead of a heart attack, then they have run out of time. Okay? Or time is the internal dialogue